Trading the Forex markets can be confusing, especially because they are open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. It can be hard to know when to trade, how to trade, and of course there is the fear of missing out. That's why in this video I'm going to break it down for you into digestible segments, which will help you to structure and plan your trading day. We're going to be exploring and utilizing time theory, which is a massive game changer in trading. I've been trading for over 5 years now. I trade both my live account with IC Markets and I also trade a prop trading account with the prop firm, the 5%ers, who I will talk more about later in the video. As always, all of the software that I'll be using will be linked in the description below. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and let's get straight to it. Before we dive onto the charts, let's explore the first point, and that is the different time zones. Imagining that the Forex market is this huge pie, we want to break it down into smaller segments that will be easier to understand. Now in the Forex markets, you can trade many different currencies. They will be known as majors, minors, and exotics. Because the major currencies correspond to certain countries in the world, this means that there are the most popular trading sessions, and these include the Sydney session. This is usually the first session. The Sydney session or the Australia session marks the start of the new market day. There is the Tokyo session, then the London session begins. This starts around about 8 o'clock GMT till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course, the New York session, which runs from 1 o'clock in the afternoon GMT until 10 o'clock in the evening. Now I'm using GMT because I am here in the UK, so it's important to note that if you're watching this video and you are in another part of the world, it may be easy to make a note of the times that I've just said and then convert them into your time so you know when to look. That's why sometimes Forex traders will have different clocks. But why is this important? Well, the volume varies depending on what time you trade, depending on what session is open. If you are trading the Sydney session, for example, you may find the range will be a bit lower, especially for pairs that don't correspond to any of the countries in Sydney, such as Euro Pound. Whereas if you are trading the New York session, you may find there'll be a lot more volume, so there'll be a lot more market movements, and depending on your strategy, this could provide more trading opportunities. Now, the next step to consider in time theory, taking it one step further, is the crossovers. So we know there are different sessions. Now there are also what is called session crossovers, and this is a way to heighten the volume that you'll see in the market, which again can help you with your trading. So for example, the Sydney session and the Tokyo session do cross over, so they were both open at the same time. As we know, the London session officially starts at 8 o'clock, but at 7 o'clock in the morning GMT, there will quite often be some news release that relates to the pound. It's also the time when the Europe session will start. Generally, people are waking up and looking at the markets. So you may see the volume will start to peak at this time, and there is also still a crossover to the Tokyo session. The most important crossover that traders will look for will be the London crossover with the New York crossover. This is basically when both of the markets are open and trading at the same time, which is usually from 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock GMT. Until the London market closes. Again, if you are looking for volume, if you want the markets to be moving, it is helpful to trade during not only a busy time for a market session, but also a crossover. In my opinion, one of the best crossovers will be the London and the New York session. So from this alone, this may help you to structure your day if you consider what session you want to trade, what crossover you want to trade, and also what time of day you are physically available to trade. It may narrow down your window from this 24-hour market to a nice 1 or 2 hour time slot that suits you. Now, there's also another really important point to consider in time theory, and for this we will jump onto the computer. And that is, of course, the news release. I'm here on forexfactory.com. I'm going to go into the calendar up here right at the top, and this will load up a plan of upcoming news releases and events that are due out for the week. I've got this filtered on high impact here and on the currency pairs that I watch, but you can of course change this with the filter icon. And this is a really important step, I find, in time theory because it can really help to structure your day. For example, if you are planning on trading the New York session, which technically opens at 1, but there is a major news release such as this one here on Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. core CPI, I wouldn't recommend trading at 1. I would advise to wait until that news has been released, because this can provide a very sharp spike in volume, in volatility in the markets that may affect your trading. Personally, I find that being aware of upcoming news can really help to structure a day. If you try to trade around a news release during a busy session crossover, you will find that you can surf the volume that will come into the markets. It's also important to consider this in your session plan. So if you do want to trade the New York session, which is at 1 o'clock, just be mindful that quite often there will be a news release at 1:30, so it may make more sense to wait until then. This is also a great time to mention the 5%ers, the prop firm that I mentioned earlier that I trade with, because they really make it accessible for traders. They allow you to hold trades over the weekend, which not a lot of prop firms do, and they also allow you to trade through news, although you usually have to wait for a couple of minutes before and after the news release. I've been trading with the 5%ers for a while now. They have a few different programs available. They've got Hyper Growth, which is the program that I'm enrolled onto, the High Stakes program, and the Bootcamp program. And one of the major points that I think is critical when it comes to choosing a prop firm is the fact that they have no deadline to pass the program. So you are not restricted with a time limit, which really takes the stress out of the equation. If you want some more information about the 5%ers, there is a link below in the description, and I have created a separate video, so do check it out. So you are aware of the session times, the crossovers, and the importance of news. What is the next stage in structuring your trading day? Well, of course, that is when we get onto the charts and do technical analysis. But there is still a way to analyze the markets technically, incorporating time theory, and I'm going to show that with you right now on TradingView. Okay, guys, so here I am on the daily time frame for pound dollar. Now, everybody will usually have their own way of analyzing the markets, and I'm not showing you a step-by-step strategy on how to take a trade, but I'm just sharing with you a different perspective on analyzing the markets weighted on using time theory that may help to provide more clarity when it comes to taking a trade. And so to do that, we're going to just go to a really fast time frame here on the 5 minutes. And zooming out, it can still look daunting. You see loads of candlesticks. What do you do with all that information? Well, let's break it down. So first of all, I'm going to right click onto the settings, and I'm going to turn on session breaks. And all this simply does is add this dotted vertical line to help differentiate between the different days. So this is Friday's data, and this is Monday's data. Secondly, it would really help to be able to break up those sessions that we talked about earlier. Fortunately, there is an indicator that helps to do just that. The sessions on chart indicator is super useful because once you add that to your chart, it places these vertical colored bars that mark out that trading session. And if I go into the settings tab here, at the moment, I have just got it ticked on London and New York because that's relevant to my personal trading style, but you can choose Tokyo and Sydney as well. You can edit the time here, and you can change the color. So you can make sure that this is synced up with your own time. If you're not sure what that is, look up the times that I said earlier in the video into Google and convert them into your time zone so you can make this work for you. But it is really useful because now we have the London session here and the New York session. And you might notice if we just play around with this, on Friday's trading day before the London session opened, if we just add this box to highlight the range here, price doesn't really go too far, whereas from this London session, we have this big push up. Again, in the middle of the trading session, we don't really see a lot of range in the movement of the markets. But during the New York session, we have a low down here and a high up here. So although this wasn't even a brilliant day because we're trading on the inside day of the previous day, we are still seeing more movement, more range during those busy sessions, the London and the New York. And there was one final step I want to share with you to really help to break up your trading day using this method of time theory, and that is by adding on lines to indicate certain opening and closing hours of these sessions, because it's interesting to see how price reacts. So I'm going to stick with this example here on the Friday. I'm not using current time because currently it is just before the New York session and I want to be able to do this on the full span of the day. So first things first is I'm going to hover over the 10 o'clock on a Sunday, which is the opening. That's the start of Monday's data. Monday, sorry, not Friday. So Monday, the 9th of December, this line here is where the markets opened. So firstly, that is the current daily open. What I'm going to do after that is I'm going to add another horizontal line at 7 o'clock. And this one indicates the London Open. Personally, I find it quite unclear to determine when the London opens exactly, because a lot of sources say it's 8 o'clock. I always go from 7 because I like to sync up with the news. The news release is at 7, Europe is awake from 7, and as you can see on this example here, the volume starts coming in from 7. If you prefer to use 8, that's up to you. So we've got a London Open. I'm going to add another one just before 10 o'clock here to show the London close. And what is the purpose of this? Well, if you are trading the London session, so you won't have all of that detail because you'll be at the beginning of the session. But if you highlight this line here and you wait for the first few bars after the start of the session, you can see what the relationship is with that session opening and the current daily open. So this London session opened underneath the current daily open. It pushed up, then it closed down below both of these lines, but then we got this push up. And when price closed above both of these lines, it shows a lot of bullish momentum. So it can help you to gauge a directional bias. And the same can be continued into the New York session. So into the New York session, which I will just edit, it's got the wrong time here. So let's just change that now. I've just tweaked this session for New York because I noticed it was set to 12 o'clock here in GMT. So I've changed that so that it is corresponding to 1/2 GMT in sync with the news, which again is what I prefer to use for the New York session. And using the same concept here, I'm just going to find the start of the New York session, which is this candlestick here. And of course, the close is at the top up here. And once again, it can be handy to see the relationship between these two. So if we just extend this London close, the New York session opened and it pushed up bullish, and we then came down here, breaking the low. Most of the time I'll find that there will be, in the first period of time after a session starts, it will establish its open, its high, and its close. So here it's opened, it's established a high up here, and then it's actually pulled back down to dip below the London close, the previous session close. But then it found a little bit of buy momentum and pushed up, and you can see it then continues this bullish uptrend. Being aware and utilizing time theory in this way can really help to improve your accuracy when it comes to trading. It can also improve your mental well-being because it can give you a structure and a plan, which is really useful because when you start trading, especially at the beginning, it can feel extremely addictive, and it's not very healthy to just be on the markets, be on the charts all the time. It can help if you just narrow it down to an hour or two a day, a time that suits you during a session crossover, and also utilizing the points we talked about, the daily open, the session open, the session close. Before you know it, it can really help to structure out a trading strategy. If you've got any questions or any comments, please do leave them below, and if you've enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.